but because we're here now on the 14th, and so next Wednesday would be the 20th, and we leave the 22nd.
This is no problem. We're leaving on 21st to...
Because you're going to the lakes, of course.
Yeah, and then we have to take a plane next day, so...
Yeah, no, of course.
I might be able on 21st, but I think in the morning, and I'm not sure when we leave, so... Yeah.
No, fair enough. Let's not stress things like that. Because you're already up by this time, right?
Yes, 30 is the last day of school.
Yeah.
Is there school on the 20th? On Tuesday?
Good for projects.
Oh, yeah.
Upload what you can.
Okay, so when
Let's
I'm
do
ready,
that.
I upload it.
Just
okay.
upload it, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'll give you feedback via computer.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah? Maybe I think that's probably what will work best.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much for coming in. Enjoy your relative freedom. And
Oh, yes.
do you have a lot to do as well?
Now, nice. Well, enjoy that.
Oh, yes. Thank
Catch
you.
up on some sleep and stuff.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
No, not yet.
I have my last one now. We do the Dutch. Dutch. Lobby. you.
Does the sheets end now?
Yeah. I just finished it.
Oh, nice.
Paper one was supposed to be an hour.
And I wrote if you were to consider how that. Well, that's what it was. If it didn't mean what I think it means, I did everything wrong. I read the book.
I got to choose option one because the option one was easier, but because I didn't know what to choose. But it was very yeah.
What does?
But it was very.
What was the last one? People or something like this in the last. What was it?
Honest.
Pita, I'm not sure what it is. Well,
But what do you have?
okay, it is.
What do you have more?
What do you mean more?
Do you have another language?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right.
I have one.
No, what the book was. The power control and pride from the electricity company complained so they got the unit in the week. The little school. 18 years ago, the London student school and the student was Japanese exam. The mother stopped and told the little more and put his back on the link to his teacher's skin. So probably this was the next of the on the street and the time radio Indeed, they ever learned the truth about them. This is a real combination of poetic writing and the Greek idea. I want to read this one day.
One day.
It's an anchor. You know the anchor is you throw and it goes over the okay. I think something I told you is really wrong. Like it doesn't make sense anymore. Like, is there something that I told you that makes sense? Which part of it? What part of what I told you is conflicting, doesn't make any sense to you? There is something.
Oh yeah, I'll sit there.
No, not that there is something that's so many, but what part of what I said doesn't make sense? Because I might get what he did if I get why something doesn't make sense. But I don't know what doesn't make sense. So I told you a lot of stuff yesterday. I remember Professor not talking to me or something like this. And I told you that I told you to do something. I don't know. It seems to me that creative in between. But I don't know because I can't tell for sure. Yeah, not sure. Well, what did you A, right?
Yeah, it's
Oh yeah, I have a little.
up to?
Yeah. We have a meeting now?
You
Yes,
are.
you want, if you understand.
Seriously, again? Why do you look confused, Ben?
I know, I just think it's funny that he gave you for it.
It's because I don't expect you in here, because you never really work.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Only investigate airport hours. Yeah, no, like in the morning, I think.
Oh yeah, and I replied.
You should check my mail.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, I emailed and said, absolutely, that's cool, and I even said if you want to meet earlier, that's fine too. Which is cool. How are you?
Alright. So this one stayed pretty much the same. I didn't find out more, but I started asking people since Marcus told me to stop. Made it very clear. And so right now I'm not sure what I should do again about this situation because it still affects me in a way. I think it's because of this. I'm not sure, but it's most likely because of this. And I just don't know what I should do since Marcus told me, okay, avoid the topic. Don't. If people ask you about this, just tell them forget. Just change the topic. What I should do? What I should do about it? What's your opinion? What's recommendation for me?
Since I spoke to you, has anybody else ever raised it?
No, I think I talked to a few people about it.
But you brought it up, not them.
No, but they asked questions after I talked to them.
Okay.
But then Marcus made it very clear, okay, stop talking about it to anyone. Just don't ask anyone. So I stopped asking about this. But the reaction of the people, which I told you about, didn't change that much. Not in the sense that they're giving me clues about this, but in the sense that there's something wrong. And since this was a long time ago, it's possible that it is. It's most likely something related to this. So right now I'm a bit confused. I'm not sure what to do. So yeah.
Okay. So my thinking is one of two things. So either there's some misreading happening here, so you feel that there's something that there isn't, which is a possibility. Another possibility is that a couple of people are being dicks, and they are elaborately playing a joke.
Okay.
So they're teasing you, right? So that they are. So like your question was, why did they change that group to YSE? You know. So
No, that's the people there. I don't think any of the people in that group are related to this.
Okay.
I just think the whole school knows, and this was one of the many things that people did to let me know that I'm involved in this thing. But I never said that people from that the group are involved.
Okay.
But this was written, so it stayed there. So that's why I showed it to you, because there are a lot of other stuff which just happened, and I can show it to you.
You can't show it. Yeah. And I hear that.
Yeah, but I honestly don't think any of the people in that group, in the YSC group, have ever had anything to do with this.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure about that.
Okay, cool. Okay, so my thing is, so if there are... I don't see any evidence that anybody is being negatively affected by the situation right now, apart from you, who's being very negatively affected.
Oh, alright. Yes.
Do you agree?
This makes sense because if other people weren't involved, I don't see why they would be negatively affected. Especially if it's been so much time. Because maybe in the beginning they were, because they don't like this whole thing happening.
Yeah.
But right now, since people stop talking about it, and everyone try to start to calm it down, if people don't think about it, and it's nothing related to them, then of course it doesn't affect them. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, okay.
By the way, did anyone of the teachers or talk to anyone who I mentioned, for example, from the YC group, or I don't know?
Not that I know of. But I mean, they could have without my knowing. because I'm not part of it. I'm not part of it.
Okay.
All I know about you is from what I've heard about from Marcus. That's
Okay.
it.
Mhm.
And Marcus has never told me.
Anything about that group?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Is your question, have any teachers spoken to students in...
Might. I don't know. I asked about it because Marcus told me he only spoke to Vasa and Sophie about this because they were the main people involved in this. And I was just curious if he talked to anyone else or if any of the other teachers talked to other students, because I think I should know since I was the one who asked Marcus this.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. I haven't heard that anybody has,
Okay.
but I also haven't heard that anybody hasn't. I mean, but that's got nothing to do with me. Like, so
Mhm.
I wouldn't necessarily have heard, right?
Okay. For example, the thing with the YSC, I only showed it to you, so Marcus shouldn't know about it unless he told me. I don't know. Just, I think.
I'm confused. Say again?
So that thing with the YSC group,
Yeah.
I think from the teachers, you're the only one who I showed that. So yeah, I was just curious if you talked to Marcus about it or.
Oh, Marcus mentioned the YSE group.
So
and
he knew about that. So.
Oh, okay. And your question is, does he know that from me or does he know that from someone else?
Yeah, because I don't remember showing him that.
Oh no, that's from me.
So you talked with Marcus
Yeah.
about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I was just curious if after you talked to him, he talked to other people to ask questions and maybe he got some answers or something. So I was just curious.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
Mhm.
So like when I asked you about what I could say to Marcus, in terms of like, is there truth behind it or whatever, what I said to Marcus is, I don't know what the bigger picture is,
Okay.
but then I gave the example, but I said, but for example, an example of where Paul is suspicious is
Mhm.
that there was this group. So I said, so like that's an example of where if people are being idiots, that's an example of where maybe they are being idiots.
No, it's not what I meant. What I showed you back then was that thing is one of the things people did to let me know that they think I'm involved in that. But I never said that those people are part of this.
Oh no, and I didn't say that you did either.
Okay.
At all. No, that's...
Mm-hmm.
Is that what he said?
No, I'm not sure because I don't think he asked me about that. I don't think I ever talked to Marcus about this,
Okay.
like this specific part, the YC group. So.
Right, okay, so I mentioned that, but from my perspective, not from what you had said about it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. If Marcus is around, do you want him to be here?
I don't mind, but I was like, if he is here, yeah, why not?
Okay.
But it was just an opinion right now because I'm really kind of don't know what to do. So
Yeah. No, I can
talk
get
to
that.
someone with experience.
No, I can get that. I go back to that binary possibility that either you are misreading the situation or there is something. But, you know, so you're either what you're experiencing or your perceptions are correct or they're not. It's one or the other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So I look at it and I think, what should your actions be if it is correct or if it's not correct?
Mm-hmm.
I think what makes sense, if your perceptions are not correct, it makes sense to me to try and let it go, and we can talk about how that happens. If your perceptions are correct, it still makes sense to me to let it go. Because, okay, so the letting it go if your perceptions aren't correct is self-explanatory. The letting
It's really easy.
Yeah, it's self-explanatory. But the letting go, if it is correct, is what could people's motivations be? I see no evidence that now anybody actually believes that you did something that you didn't.
Yes, but there is a problem. You're a teacher, so that is very different from being a student in the school. Because if people talk once, not saying they do now, but if they did before, I suppose they talked between students. I don't think they met with you and they were like, Simon, you know.
Is your perception that people do currently believe that you did something you didn't?
I think they do, but I don't think they still talk about it. I think they do, and it's kind of not a thing that happened now. It's like something in the past, and it's not affecting them now. It shouldn't affect me either. But people still have that, I think, in the back of their mind. So it's not that they think about that, but like it makes sense that when you see someone and you know they did something bad, you have a different reaction. But that's not because they remember that on the spot, but it just influences them because they once thought that, so they have they have that perception. I don't know how to explain that.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So what evidence do you have, or what leads you to come to the conclusion that people do think, even though they're not thinking about it now, but that people have that belief that you were guilty of something that you didn't do?
So as I told you, those reactions, which many of them can't be proved because they happen. Some of them could have been proved, but for example, they're not there. They were in internet that disappears. Their post that disappears after 24 hours. After you post them, their other posts, someone just deleted them, and nothing was very clear that it is about that. But it was there were always elements which suggested that. So one of them, only one of this, like I showed you the group, right? Can't really say anything only from that. You agree with me? Because maybe it's a joke. It's someone from, maybe there was a joke between them. It has nothing to do with me. But if you take all that into account, and I could, let's say, possibly show all of it, it would make sense that it is about that. It still wouldn't completely prove it, but it would be like a strong evidence for it. And then it's the reaction of people, which they have the everyday reaction at school, right? And I don't know if I could show you on the TV screen all that. It would be, I think, enough to convince people and to actually, like, yeah, you know what I mean. I can do that. So
okay, so the evidence which is convincing to you is your experience of what you see and what you interpret that to mean.
Oh yes.
Yeah, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how we all work. You know, we see
Yes,
things,
yes.
we interpret it. That's normal. That's normal. So now let me give you an example of something as a question. So I once had a patient who was deeply, deeply upset with me. And I was trying to work out why he was upset with me.
Because of you, or just with everyone?
Well, he was upset with a lot of things, but then one day he was upset with me specifically.
Okay.
And I was trying to work out why. And he said, no, I'm upset with you because you've told everybody my secrets, and I'm embarrassed and I'm hurt. And I thought, I would never do that, you know. And I was like, why do you think that? And eventually, he opened up with why he believed it. And this is what happened. One day, he came in to see me, and he walked through that door, and Alice, the girl who sits over there, was listening to something through her headphones, and she was laughing when he walked in. And he walked in and saw her laughing. And he thought, you know, he saw something, and then he interpreted it, and he thought, she's laughing at me. She's laughing at me. Simon must have told her something. So he saw something, and he interpreted it a certain way. Now, how could I convince him that what he interpreted from what he saw was wrong? I
talk
can't.
to that person.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
and then he'll say, well, no, but then, you know, she's obviously just saying that to protect the situation. I don't know, whatever. So
yeah,
I think
I get the logic.
yeah, they get the logic. So now we're in a position where I cannot tell you whether your interpretations are correct or not correct, because I haven't seen them. Even if I did see them, who's to say my interpretation is right and yours is wrong?
Yes. One more thing about your example. This patient you had so one person, and it was nothing specific. Just saw a person with headphones looking at her phone, the screen, and laughing. So it didn't suggest anything. It was just a person laughing, and she had a headphone in, so it suggested it could be something else. And it was one person. In my case, there were a lot more people, and reaction wasn't just simply, for example, avoidance or not ignorance, but when someone sees them, then they're not okay. There's something wrong. It wasn't only this. It came with let's say reasons. Right? I don't know how to call them. Why? So there's little clues I told you about. So it's a little bit different.
No, it is. I mean, yours is clearly more convincing than his. So I'm not saying that they're equally convincing.
Yes.
But it's just an example of, because so maybe I just described to you what he saw. If he told you, he might have said, and then when I walked in, she looked at me in a certain way. And, he might have seen more than I'm able to say.
Okay.
So, and yours is probably still much more convincing. I'm not saying it's not. But all the principle of what I'm trying to say is, I cannot comment on the validity of what you've observed and interpreted, because I can't. And you know I can't, and I know I can't. So I'm not going to try.
Yes. Okay. I get that.
Yeah, there's no value. I can't guess. But if people did believe that you were part of that, that's unfair. It's not a just situation. As far as I understand from what you've told me, if people thought you were guilty, they would think, you took it? Vasya. You took it from him? Vasya. Then they would think of him the same as you, that he's as guilty. Right?
Oh, yes. I don't know how much I talked to you, because I also talked to Marcus, like very detailed about this. There was, in the beginning, I thought people just thought I told Vasya's secret about this, when this didn't happen. So what I was trying to do was explain Vasya, okay, look, you told me about it, you told me not to tell people, and I didn't, right? So I talked to you and I explained this. After this, I realized, okay, if people's reaction is this bad, it can't be that. It has to be something else. So I've seen, okay, but wait a minute, no one is having this reaction towards him. So if people know about this, and everyone seems to be angry at me and mad at him, and he's not telling me something is also very obvious, it makes sense to believe that he blamed it on me. And after that, so I asked him, I asked Sophie as well, and there should be no reason for Sophie, for example, to lie about this, because she would just it would just change the person who did it, but it wouldn't change the situation. So I don't see why she would do that. And also I asked other people, and everyone, I didn't ask that many people, but once I asked, either said this, that okay, we know Vasya did it, either said we don't know anything, I don't know anything about this. So then I didn't continue telling them the whole story, because if they don't know, it makes sense to not tell them anything. Also when I talked to Marcus, he told me everyone who he talked to told me the exact same thing. Vasya took this once, he showed it to me, and I'm bringing it up for nothing. So from this, since there's still something about this, right? I assume it's not that. And I think, what can it be? Because, okay, people know he did this, people confirmed me he was the one who took it, but they're still angry at me. So the only thing that in my mind makes sense to make people have this reaction is, like, what can you do with a photo, right? You can share it. So I thought he found a way to share it and blame it on me, which makes no sense, because if he would do that, he would do it in his name. Like, I don't know, he would send it to a friend, but it would be him who would do that, not me, because I didn't even have those photos, right?
But now, do you hear what you're doing? It's like you've created a whole big possibility.
Yeah, it's nothing certain. It's a possibility for that would possibly result in that reaction. It's not. I'm not saying this happened. I'm not even saying he did something. But since he was the only one I heard about this before, I assume he was the only one who could do this. Because I'm not saying he did, but it's most likely that he did. And that would have made sense. But also someone would have told me, because you see, when you do something like this, let's say that theoretically he could do this, it wouldn't make sense that everyone would believe the same thing, right? because it would be maybe what can he do? He change the name of a contact if he's a friend change the name of his contact to my name. Let's say a possibility. And then let's say he sent this, and then take a screenshot and send it to people. Okay, look what Paul showed me. But this, I don't think this would work because if I do that, for example, people can read this guy doesn't know anything. He keeps asking what's happening, and look, I can do that as well. I can change the name of the contact. So they would realize it. So it makes sense in a way. It doesn't make sense in another way. So it's really complicated.
Can I give you another example where I think it doesn't make sense?
Hmm?
So my understanding from Marcus is the people that are upset now is they're upset because they want this to be dropped. Because they're not wanting to keep talking about this.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those, for example, is what's her name? Anne-Sophie. Is her name Anne-Sophie or Sophie?
Anne-Sophie, I think, but yeah, I call her Sophie.
Sophie. Okay.
Yeah.
So including her, so she's saying, just I don't want to talk about this anymore. Just leave me alone. That's my understanding.
Yes.
If it had happened that people really believed you had done something because you had changed the name of the contact, etc.,
Yeah.
She would have come forward with that. She would have said,
Yes.
that would have helped her. Right at the beginning, she just said to Marcus, this is what Paul's done, that's not acceptable. And she hasn't done that. She said, I know Paul hasn't done anything, can we drop this?
Yes, there's one more thing. When she found out, let's say, I have other reasons to believe she found out about this before, but she's saying, now she's saying that she only got to know about this when I talked to her. Even then, when that happened, she didn't go to Marcus straight away. She waited, I think, a month, and she didn't went because someone took her of her. She went to say that someone keeps bringing this up with no reason, and it doesn't really make sense. Because I think the other part is more let's say annoying. I don't know how to call it. Then someone trying to find out what happened, and still not. I didn't ask the whole school. I asked her, asked Vasya, asked a few of Vasya's close friends, and there's maximum 5-6 people in total who I asked, right? And at one point she told me, okay, the whole school knows this, but there's a problem because the people I asked who knew about it, then I mentioned her name, but people who said they don't know, they didn't mention her name. I only mentioned Vasya's name, and I barely said it's about a photo. I didn't went into details, say anything else. And that kind of, I don't know, I feel like there's something wrong with that, because...
Well, it depends. When she says the whole school, I'd want to know what she means. Because for her, she might have had 4 people say it to her, and then, oh my God, everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those, does she mean 20 people, or does she mean 4 people?
Yes, what thing where I want to get to is I think she knew about this before I talked to her, because there's the reason I talked to her. Like, imagine this, so Vasya was one of my best friends at the beginning of the year. He told me not to tell anyone, so I suppose especially not tell the person who took the proposal, right? It makes a lot of sense. So if I got to talk to Vasya, I think 20 times before I talked to her, and some things which she said didn't make sense, and I had reasons to, like a lot of reasons from people's reaction, including Sophie's reaction, to believe, okay, something about this, people think I did. So it made sense to talk to her. So I did that, and her reaction was the same as Vasya, and the same kind of message went out of that. So it was, okay, thank you. Now I know who took that, but I think she already knew that. But why would I just go to her, okay, look, this guy did this with no reason. It doesn't help me, because if he would get to know that I did this, he'd be pissed and it just caused more problems. It wouldn't help her because I'm just making a problem, right? It don't help anyone, right? So I wouldn't just do this for no reason, okay? So then, and something is not okay there. And that's why I feel like something happened there. I don't know, it could be that she found out about this before, and okay, Vasya, let's say, he apologized for that. It was, let's say, okay. But then whatever he said about me, and I didn't do anything because I didn't know what it is, right? So she thought, okay, well, there are two people, they did this, and then with those photos, and Paul did this. And okay, but this guy apologized, this guy acts like nothing happens, and right now he also starts people asking what happened as he didn't do anything. So I'm not saying it happened like this, but it's a possibility. For example, she went to, when I first talked to her, let's say, she didn't believe what I was saying, because whatever, if the whole school believed this, I wouldn't, I would expect her to not believe it either at one point, right? So, what if she went to people and said, okay, Paul admitted with whatever Vasya said, or whatever, who made this up said, and then when she realized, okay, so Paul didn't do this, she wouldn't be able to go back and say, okay, he actually didn't do it, because she already said he did it, right? I don't know if you get my logic.
I do.
Yeah, so then from this situation, she'll just be in a very bad position if people get to know that he didn't do that, right? Whatever it is. So it would make sense to, for example, talk to Vasya and both of them go to Marcus, tell them, okay, Paul is doing this for nothing. Because Marcus didn't talk to other people as far as I understood. So, and then Marcus told me, okay, this is annoying people. From what I understood, there are more people who are saying that nothing happened and you're just causing problems. So shut up, don't talk about it. Mind your own business, learn for exams, study for exams, or something else. So then it would make sense for both of them to not want me to talk, because at one point I'll find out this thing, which I don't know. But this is a possibility. I'm not saying it's hard. It's possible.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I would have to concede that it's possible in the same way that a number of different things are possible, right?
Yeah, yes.
And I can understand from your experience, it seems that some things are more likely than others because
Yes.
you have observed people's reactions, etc.
Yep.
Because I haven't observed people's reactions with the data that I have, which is much less than the data you have. If I look at what is most likely, what seems the most likely is that it's as they say, that they're not actually bothered. That seems the most likely. Can I guarantee that's the case? Of course I can't. Does that mean I don't believe you? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It means I don't have access to the same data that you do.
Yes, I
Yeah,
get that.
yeah. So your original question is, what do you think is the wisest course of action? I don't see any way in which continuing to dig
Would help.
would help.
Okay.
I'm open to be convinced on that.
Hmm?
Can you think of a way in which digging would help? I mean, how could your different options play through? For me, right now, it seems that the one that makes the most sense is to write this off and say that that's bad and carry on about something else.
Okay.
But that's what makes sense to me. Can you persuade me why digging would be in your best interests?
Well, for me, if, let's say I would find out what this is about, right? And since I didn't do anything, if there is actually something, it's still a possibility that I find something which people said and it's not true, there are a lot more chances for me to show people, okay, this didn't happen, it's not true. Then if I don't even know about it, because the reaction for me not talking about it anymore would just be, okay, he didn't apologize for whatever he did, but he stopped talking about it. So from this, we assume he just understood it. Okay, there's no way for him to show he didn't do it. But that is because I still don't know what it is about. And let's say I continue asking people, and I don't find anything. What can happen, maybe piece of 2 or 3 people, like Vasya or Sophie, right? Because they both of them clearly, in either case, even if they did or they didn't do anything else, in either case it would still be annoying for them, someone bringing this up, right? So it depends, right? So in both cases, there's something to gain and something to lose. In one of them, I find the truth, and some people would be annoyed about that, but it would be the same people who potentially did something. And in the other case, I don't find anything, but I am convinced I didn't find anything because there's nothing.
and 2 or 3 people would be again annoyed because I keep bringing something up that's I don't know, sensible for them. Or
Okay, so my next question, because I think that's a fair assessment.
okay.
My next question would be, what would it take to satisfy you that there was nothing?
That's a very good question. Well, maybe there's the thing, that reaction which happened from a lot of people, and it was never fully clear. It was just something that suggested that. It was never fully clear, but it came from a lot of people. So there's no way. I don't think there's a way to just get the same confirmation for everyone, because I think it's pretty stupid to just go and ask every single person. Okay, do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that? If they have nothing to do with that, and they don't even, some of them don't even know me, so I find that a really stupid approach. But on the other hand, if let's say I find 10 people who I start asking people, not everyone, but some people from different groups, maybe if let's say 3 or 4 people were, when I asked them, they had not necessarily positive reaction to that, but a reaction which suggests there's something besides what I already asked, or if they tell me something else, it's even better. So, because I saw at some point when I'm talking to people, they sometimes like make big eyes and listen, and sometimes when I say different things about the same subject, they just lose interest, and okay, we don't know. And it depends. Sometimes it might be because I explain too much detail, and it takes too much time. But if I say everything in shortly in 20 seconds, and it's something this big, I don't think people will just have this like, oh, okay, I don't know anything else. If what I said makes sense to them, because what I think, well, from what I said, okay, first I said I think people think I did something about this, and it's not true, and they pay attention. While I'm saying why, like in 1 minute, they pay attention again. At one point, there is something, I still didn't get what, but it's something from what I say doesn't make sense to people. Something of what I say, they're sure it's not like this. If I'm right about everything, that there is something which I'm still not fully confident about. It's possible, right? So it might be that. There's one thing they kept saying to everyone, and everyone is sure that's not true. So that might be a reason for people to not trust me about it, right? So they just be okay. We don't know anything, so we don't know. And I know it's really like a far thought, like a bit too far, but it makes sense in a way.
My concern, because now I'm looking at it like a scientist.
Okay.
So now my concern is, you've got a hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
You are now wanting to test your hypothesis through a sample of the population.
You could say from this point of view, if you want, yes.
And the reason why I'm presenting this is because of a certain word I'm going to get to in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that kind of exploration, you've got to ensure that you don't have confirmation bias. And what confirmation bias means in that context is saying, if you are sure or you suspect you've got the answer, you start fitting your facts to suit the answer,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to looking at what the facts are and then deciding what the answer is.
Mm-hmm.
I get the impression from you, even though you're being very good about saying, that's just a theory or that's a possibility and I'm not convinced. I'm hearing you saying a lot of the uncertainty, but I'm getting the feeling that you're pretty sure that there's something.
Well, yes, I'm sure there's something.
Yeah.
And I don't know what exactly, but I know it, in a way it has to be related to this, because people's reaction suggests something about this.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's not taking those photos, because everyone told me, okay, once I did it, stop saying he blames it on you because that's not true. It's not that. it might not even, the photos might not even be the main thing of this problem, but it's for sure part of it. It's something that's around this thing. So if I go people and ask something about this, which is not what the problem is, I'm just going kind of this is your problem. I just go around, and people would be like, okay, it's not this stuff, and it's not helping anyone. It's just annoying people at one point, because if I ask too many people, they're all talk and be like, okay, this guy keeps asking us the same thing, which makes no sense. And if I would get what to ask, and I won't go around it, but that's the right thing. I'd say I don't ask a lot of people, ask 3 people, but as the correct thing, the correct question, they start thinking about it, and they'll be okay. What he says makes sense, and even if it made a lot more sense till now that he did all this, let's still see if it's true. We can check it. Like, there's nothing they can do if they check it, right? And I don't see everyone would want to do that, but at one point some people will just be curious about it. Like, you just go like, okay, this is what everyone knows. Everyone's sure about it, but look, and then I would find out what happened. From there, I can continue like solving it.
Okay, so you rightfully pointed out that if you keep asking questions, there's the risk of upsetting some specific people.
Not exactly upsetting, but getting nowhere, and as a secondary effect, also annoying people.
Okay, so annoying people. Okay, so now this is my thing. Because you're starting with the assumption that you believe something happened. You don't know what, but something happened.
Okay.
Because you're starting with that assumption, because of this confirmation bias, you could easily interpret things to support that belief.
Okay.
So, if you now go and ask questions, and Anna Sophie gets really, really pissed off, and maybe she's actually just pissed off because she wants you to drop this now. But because you're already sure that there's something, you could interpret her being pissed off as more evidence that there's something. But actually, she's just pissed off because she wants you to drop it. Did you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, but this was before I ever asked, even before I ever asked Vasa.
Mm-hmm.
So she had this reaction, and other people had this reaction before, not only before I talked to her, before I ever talked about this at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think I did before, and I didn't do it talking to her, or maybe to Vasya. I was just asking what's happening, right? And when I kept asking that, then this reaction, not the reaction of people avoiding me or having like a bad attitude, I don't know how to say that, but the small clues that I told you about this, it suggested something about these photos, and they're not. There was absolutely nothing which was very clear. Okay, it is this. No sentence which said, okay, Paul did this, but there were a lot of things which very strongly suggested that there's something about that, and that is towards me. So it's something about me, and that those things, not necessarily taking them, but something about it. And now, like this thing happened long ago, right? This reaction lasted for a long time. And right now, I would guess why people wouldn't have again this, would give me again the same clues over and over again, because once he did it for so long and so much, and I also asked about this topic specific, they already know that, okay, I know it's something about that. But the only possible reason would be that what I'm asking simply makes no sense to people, because it's not what I'm supposed to ask to get the answer to what I want. So I want to know what happened, but what I'm asking doesn't help me get there. So instead of asking the same questions again, from this point of view, I agree with Marcus. If I ask the same questions again, it would just make things worse. So I shouldn't ask the same things again. But if I ask things that are still related to this, but slightly, like, which could go to different directions, I might get somewhere, and I potentially could get the answer. But right now, since I talked to Marcus, and after he talked to me the first time, I still asked a few people. He made it very clear the second time that under no circumstances I'm allowed to talk to anyone about this. Not Pastor, not sorry, like no one, none of the students. And he was very clear about this. And there's one thing that it doesn't make sense to me. In the very beginning when I talked to him, he said, like, don't talk to anyone, but specifically don't talk to Sophie or Bas about this, especially Sophie, because she gave me the reason that she's being annoyed by this, right? So by you bringing it up, like to everyone to know, it's not a healthy thing. So just drop it. But then one day, she showed up in my house, and she was like, "Okay, let's talk about this."
When was this?
Last Wednesday, I think.
Wow. Okay.
I think last Wednesday or Tuesday, I'm not sure. But then there was a problem. One, she wasn't supposed to know my address, and she said she knew it from school stuff. So that's also I talked to Marcus about that because not okay with school giving my address. But
Did the school give you
I am not sure. She said that it wasn't confirmed. Marcus said he will investigate this, but he gave me no answer. So I really don't know what to think. But in any way, she came to my house. She said, "Okay, let's talk about this." And my mom was there. She had no idea, like, why is this girl here, and why does she want to talk about something like this, right? So then she explained it very clearly, like she made it 100% clear that I'm not involved in that. And her point was again me to not talk about it, and she kind of said that she would have to go to school if I don't stop. But she said
would have to go to school.
she has, but she already did. And besides this,
Oh, she'd report to the school.
She'd report
That's
to the
you.
school.
Okay.
but since I think there is something, why didn't you go directly to the school to report? And you came to my house and to tell me that if you don't stop, like a warning, if you don't stop, I will tell the school. Because one, you already told the school, and two, why would you bother to come all the way to my house to tell me this? If you could just go to the school and the school would talk to me and just say drop it. Like the school, not only Marcus, but like the school, like head of year or something like this, right? So there's a problem with the address because maybe she got it from a friend, and then she came to my house. But she specifically said it was from the school.
Who is the school?
She said it's registered in the school as information. So she went and asked the staff, not the staff, but she went and asked, and someone gave it to her from there. So I don't think students have access to like this kind of information at the school, but yeah. So this was one problem. I talked to Marcus about it, and his main problem after that was, why did you let her in? Why did you talk to her, right? And that doesn't make sense because his argument for me to drop this and not talk about it was that it is annoying for her. But if she was the one who wanted to talk about this, why would Marcus just tell me, okay, I told you to not talk about this, why did you do it? Because his argument doesn't make sense in this context. So it's just, yeah, it's another thing that doesn't make sense.
Oh. Okay, so that was last week, Tuesday or Wednesday or something.
I'm not sure, last week or 2 weeks ago, but it happened recently anyways.
Okay. And she said, do not talk about this again,
Yes.
or I'm going to go to the school.
Yeah.
And has Marcus spoken to her since then?
He told me he did, but he didn't tell me what. He didn't tell me how she got the address, or he didn't even confirm that the school didn't get for the address. So that's.
I obviously don't know. I would be very surprised if the school did give her the address.
Yeah, well,
I'd be surprised.
yeah,
it's possible, but I'd be surprised.
I don't think it's okay in this thing right now. If the school did it, suppose Marcus told me he should talk to her about this, but he didn't tell me what happened. He didn't tell me if the school gave the address or if she knew it from somewhere else or if she just didn't want to tell. He didn't specify anything. He just said he's like, okay, we'll talk about this. Then he said, okay, we'll talk about this. It's okay. It's nothing will happen. And his main argument was, okay, no one will want to. You're going to be a criminal coming to the school asking for your address to kill you. So you shouldn't worry about this. But it's still a safety issue if people could get this kind of information from school.
Yeah, it's a bit strange.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm obviously not in any kind of a position to tell you what to do,
Mm-hmm.
obviously.
No, I'm not here for you to tell me what to do. It's for you to give me an opinion of what you think I should do.
Yeah, I don't see it ending well if you keep asking questions,
Okay.
even if you change them. I just the chances of that working out in a way which helps you
are very low.
are very small.
Mm-hmm.
And let's even pretend. Let's assume that there is something. Let's assume that.
Okay.
for it to work out well for you, we have to assume that there is something at all, that there are certain people who will let it slip, that you would have to ask the right questions to have it happen, that by your finding out what that thing is, you would be able to clear your name in a way which satisfies you. And all of that would need to happen without, on the con side, without having people upset to the extent that they engage with the school, which should ultimately be a bad thing in terms of the school discipline, but also, depending on how upset she is, I mean, could she...
She, who do you refer to? She?
And Sophie.
Okay.
I don't know of any other people
No,
involved.
sorry, when you did that on the board,
Hmm?
when you had your finger on you said she, you said something with the school. So
Oh,
I
sorry,
wasn't sure
so,
what you meant.
so she talking to the school.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. But I mean, I've never spoken to her.
Okay.
I spoke to her once for peer support, but that wasn't mentioned. She applied for peer support. So
Yeah, okay.
I've had a conversation with her in my life, but it wasn't about this at all.
Mhm.
So I don't know her, but I mean, if she were to go to the police
With what?
and say she's being harassed,
Okay.
I mean, I imagine that could be quite shitty.
Well, she could do that, but if what could you say to the police? That if I would come with, okay, look what happened to me and look what's going on. If I have evidence about it, let's say I found something and there is evidence, all this harassment or however she wants to call it wouldn't really be harassment, because I would just ask people about this problem, which is not exactly about her. It's about the photos of her, which someone else did, which used those photos to I don't know how to say this, to get in a bad way, directed to me. So all this and anything she could have, it's nothing about her name. It's only about photos. It's no elements suggested it's about her. It's just this.
Okay.
So if these photos were used against me, what I was trying to do, and it wasn't directed towards her, it was directed to people, would just mean okay, I used this to find out what happened, and I found it in the end. So it.
Well, from a legal framework, has she ever said to you, "Don't talk to me about that anymore"?
Yes, she did.
And has she ever said that via text? So she got that written.
Yes.
And have you spoken to her since then via text?
I messaged her after she came to my house. Yes.
Okay.
Because she came to my house, and I think it's a pretty good reason to ask why, right?
Okay. I think it would be easier for her to gather evidence that makes it look like she's being harassed than it would be for you to gather evidence to make it look like she's not being harassed.
Why do you think that?
Because we have to assume that there is something, and we have to assume that you'll find that something.
But if, let's say, if I found you something and I prove it that there is something, would that be a stronger evidence than her evidence of her being arrested? Because I keep asking questions to people about this.
Probably not. It would have to be so clear, because the law, in terms of harassment, is very clearly defined. If she says, "I am not comfortable, do not engage with me about that,"
And you keep doing it.
and then you do, that's, even if you've got a good reason, that can be quite dangerous. And bear in mind, I have no way of thinking that's what she's going to do. I'm just looking at possibilities, remember?
Okay, what's the worst possibility?
Yeah, worst.
that can happen?
So I'm not saying that's what can happen.
Mhm.
I mean, please let that not be what happens. And no one's ever said to me that's what's going to happen. Like, I promise you, that's just me speculating. I'm saying, what is the most likely to turn out well for you? And what I drew there was a very complicated thing, saying the only way it would turn out possible
Would be all these
would
things.
be all of those things going right. And it's incredibly unlikely that they all would, and it's operating on the assumption that there is something, which we don't have any evidence of. Whereas what would go well for you, if you find a way to drop it and to work through it, that you feel fine about dropping it. Because I mean, you must feel a sense of injustice. I can imagine that's a horrible place to be. The possibility of that turning out negatively is so small compared to the negatives there. And the chances of that being positive is so big compared to the very small chance of that going positive. So just looking at it logically as an outsider, for me, the solution that will most likely work out positively for you would be to close it and try work through in yourself how you can move forward while feeling that it's not fair.
Okay, let's take the other approach where things go completely wrong. Let's say you got a text as evidence, but she told me, okay, stop, and I didn't stop. But she could go where with that thing? She could go to the school,
The police?
she could go to police, or where else could she go with that?
I mean, she could go anywhere with them. She could go to the newspaper, but I mean, I don't think that's likely.
Let's say she goes to the police. Let's say, okay, what can the police do about this? 'Cause it's nothing like, it's a text message.
Which is harassment.
It's harassment. What can police do about harassment, or this kind of harassment? Because I suppose if someone, I don't know, keeps coming to your house, let's say, and ring your doorbell every day 10 times for 2 months, it's a different harassment than texting someone after that someone told you to stop.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. In the same way that if you were like sitting outside someone's door every day looking at them, it's
I
different.
think that is worse.
Of course it's different.
Right.
Of course it's different.
So for this type of harassment, what do you think is the worst that can happen? Like if she manages to do the worst out of it, what would that be?
I think the worst that would probably happen would be some sort of a restraining order where they would say, if you make contact again, you're committing a crime which could involve a fine and or removal from the school and or prison time, ultimately.
Okay.
I imagine.
Wait.
I imagine.
Okay, but there would be a worry. There wouldn't be actual consequence.
Well, the consequence would be that you're not allowed to engage with her in any possible way. That would be the initial consequence. I imagine.
Well, there will be the hard, because I wasn't friends with her till now, so yeah. But what I ask is there any immediate consequence? Like, okay, you get a fine, or you get a record, or you get something that's written down.
I think it would be a record because it'd be a restraining order.
Okay, so this would be in your record if it appears.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine. Please, but also, I'm not giving you legal advice, right? So I'm telling you what I imagine, but I don't know because I'm not operating as an attorney.
Okay.
I imagine that if the school gave you a very clear directive to not do it and you did it anyway, I imagine that's also a school disciplinary thing. So I imagine that could also involve suspension, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know. I just look at which one has has potential negative consequence and which one doesn't. And for me, hands down, the dropping it option is better. Because that one to me looks quite scary. I don't know how badly it would turn out. I imagine it could turn out very badly. But I don't know exactly. I don't know. It would depend on the police officer. It would depend on whether her parents are involved. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Hi. Oh shit, what's the time? Is it already now? Oh shit, sorry. Okay, cool, thanks. Sorry.
You ready to go?
I've got to go. I'm very sorry. I'm being called to go and see the doctor.
Okay.
Can I see you again? Can I talk to you by email?
Via email.
Yeah. Can I email you to just find another time to talk soon?
Can you, if it stays private, can you email me the, actually no, never mind. Yeah, the thing is, I finished exams today, so.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. If you can, or no, wait. Tomorrow I don't have school, but it won't be a problem for me to come to school if you have a free tomorrow. Because I think it's better if we talk earlier than later.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure what's going to happen. Maybe she actually does go to the police without me doing anything. So
But I mean, she wouldn't. Why would she?
No, I know she wouldn't, but anything can happen. So it's just better to talk to you earlier than.
Okay. Okay. Let's. I'll look at my calendar and I'll email you later today to see when the soonest is that I can see.
Okay.
Okay.